Democrats thought they had a way around the Second Amendment. We've been talking about this for a month or so. Now, Republican attorneys generals have a plan to stop credit card companies from tracking gun purchases. Democratic senators, including Elizabeth Warren, pressured America's credit card companies into creating a new code specifically for purchases at gun stores. The idea was then to flag gun purchases that are, quote, in the words of the credit card company's infinite wisdom, suspicious, whatever that means, and then alert authorities of these suspicious purchases. They point to the Uvalde school shooting, $5,000 firearms and ammunition, gunman killed 19. Colorado movie theater, the gunman purchased $9,000 of gun ammunition and tactical gear, 12 dead, 58 wounded. Pulse nightclub shooting, $26,000 of firearms and ammunition, 49 killed. And the Las Vegas Mandalay Bay 2017 shooting, $95,000 worth of guns, 58 dead, plus 867 injured. Of course, stopping mass shootings is a worthy goal. But to be fair, a law passed through the United States Congress that would somehow call for the flagging of certain kinds of gun sales, well, that would never pass the House or the Senate. What's suspicious? What happens once a suspicious transaction gets flagged? How does one then become unflagged if you're just a legal, nice, happy person purchasing some more guns? The list of problems goes on, but demands for the private sector to do those very same things don't have any of these problems for gun control advocates. And even without defining any of these issues, some of the banks are already on board. Priscilla Sims Brown, president and chief executive of Amalgamated Bank, quote, "We all have to do our part to stop gun violence. The new code will allow us to fully comply with our duty to report suspicious activity and illegal gun sales to authorities without blocking or impeding legal gun sales." Again, no explanation of what's suspicious or illegal, no discussion of exactly what their responsibility is to report suspicious activity. No idea how they're going to figure out if it's illegal, but they are ready, evidently, at Amalgamated Bank. 24 Republican attorneys general say not so fast and just warned Visa and MasterCard against going ahead with the plan. Montana AG Austin Knudsen leads the group as with us now. Mr. Attorney General, we appreciate you being with us. How does state attorneys generals go about regulating businesses that engage in interstate commerce as governed by the U.S. Constitution, left to the federal government, that are involved in banking laws?
Well, you're absolutely right. They are subject to interstate commerce, but they're also subject to state laws as well. States like Montana, we have our Consumer Protection Act. We have our own individual state banking regulations. But as far as my office is concerned, the Montana Department of Justice, the Office of Consumer Protection is where we're going to be looking at this. Depending on how these credit card companies respond. This should be concerning to every citizen. If we can flag certain types of inventory, certain types of merchandise, then what's next here? Because you're exactly right. They did not go through Congress for this.
Would you have the same issue with this type of flagging and specific code for specific merchandise if it was, for example, abortion pills?
I think absolutely. Look, this is not what the banking industry is for. This is not what credit card companies are for. That is for access to credit and for access to financing. If we need laws on the books to track certain types of merchandise, certain types of purchases, well, then you're exactly right. The Congress should do that. That should go through our legislative process in Washington, D.C. But that will never happen. The liberals cannot get their agenda through this Congress, even though they're in charge of it.
No, we said there's no way you're going to create a law that would require the flagging of certain transactions, but there are also regulations about flagging transactions. I'm thinking about $10,000 in cash or more in certain kinds of transactions. I'm thinking that credit card companies often flag things for fraud. That's not regulated by the federal government or by the state governments of what constitutes a suspicious amount of purchase at Walmart or airline tickets or anything else. The credit card companies do that on their own. Why couldn't they do that with gun sales?
Because it's a slippery slope. I mean, take this to its logical conclusion here. What happens when we decide that we're going to weaponize this and we're going to start creating a list? We know that alcohol, tobacco, and firearms is not allowed to create a registry. So because of that, they're having the banking industry do it for them. But look, we should be concerned. I mean, what if we start requiring this for people who are getting subscriptions to certain news services? You're paying for a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. We decide that the administration doesn't like that. Are we now going to make the credit card companies flag that because that might make you a suspicious person? This has just got a chilling effect, and it should be something that every consumer is concerned about.
Obviously, there's attorneys generals on the other side of this, one of them being Lahita James of New York, who wants credit card companies to do even more. Take a listen.
MasterCard and Amex have announced that they will use the code. But that's not enough. We need these credit card companies and financial institutions to take the next step and commit to flagging suspicious gun purchases for law enforcement agencies, including the Office of the Attorney General.
Are we going to end up in a situation where if you buy guns in Montana, you don't get flagged, but if you buy tactical gear in New York, you do?
I think that's part of the problem here. You're going to have a patchwork of different results here. But look, a couple of things are going to happen here. First of all, what constitutes suspicious? If I walk into my local gun store and buy a gun safe, I'm trying to secure my firearms. I'm not even purchasing more firearms. That's a fairly large purchase, or it can be. Is that somehow going to get me flagged and make me suspicious? But the other side of this is, purchasers are smart. They're going to stop using their credit cards for these kind of purchases. You're going to see a lot more gun buyers buying things in cash and just avoiding Amex, avoiding Visa, avoiding MasterCard to get around this. I mean,
that's a great look. We see what happens. This is not
something that's going to stop it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point as well. We appreciate you joining us, sir. It's a great conversation. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. Let us know how this works out. We want to know what you think at home. How would you define, because nobody else seems to be able to do this, a suspicious gun purchase? Let us know your definition of suspicious on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Leland Vittert. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.